Hey guys, it's Melanie from MelanieKham.com. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video, we're going to talk about what to do with your leftover batting scraps. So if you are a quilter like me, or you have just pieces of batting, I've got a bin here of all my batting scraps. So I'm going to show you, or tell you, 8 different ways that you can use it, okay? Pretty cool. So the first way that I use batting scraps, so you make your quilt and then you've got one of those like long skinny strips of batting scraps that you're like, well, this isn't going to work for a whole quilt now. So what I do with those is seam it together with another piece of batting. So if I have 2 large pieces that aren't necessarily big enough for one whole quilt, you can use some seam tape. And I went and looked for mine. I can't find it, so I must be out because I use it all the time. But I will have the link down below. You can get it on Amazon. And basically it's an iron-on seam tape. You can put the 2 batting pieces together and seam it together. Now I only recommend 1 seam per quilt. If you're spending tons and tons of time on like an heirloom quality quilt, then I recommend doing 1 whole solid piece of batting. But if it's something like a donation quilt or just different kind of fun quilts, or you're trying out new techniques, this is a great way to use up your batting. And I've done this a lot of times. It holds up in the wash just fine. You can also hand sew it together, but I like the seam tape better. Now, the other thing you can do is use it for making a craft box. So in my recent video, I made this craft box, or little box, this little box that's great for organizing, and I didn't use any fancy interfacing. I just used batting. So something like that, you can whip them up really quick. I'll post the tutorial in the description box along with all the other links that I'm talking about. But it's a great way to practice your skills and also use pieces of batting. The third way to use your batting scraps is quilt sandwiches that are samples. So next to my sewing machine, I have a bunch of these, and you can see I have stitched on them. I'm trying out different colors, you're testing your tension, things like that. So you want to have several of these using scrap fabric or fabric that you don't really maybe care for, scraps of batting. That way you can test out your tension, your thread choice, your colors. If you're testing a new style of thread, this is like really key to making sure that then when you go to do your final quilt, you get a really great result. All right, next one, you can do boxy bags. So my really popular box bag tutorials, I have one with the hidden seams and one with the exposed seams. Really popular tutorial that I have. You can use batting for those. So if you want to quilt them, do some fun designs on them, practice your free motion quilting, and then put it into a boxy bag, you can do that with batting. You don't even need to use fusible fleece or some of the other kind of interfacings. You can just use the batting, especially if you quilt it ahead of time. This goes for any sort of quilted zip pouches, tote bags, anything like that. They use a much smaller amount of batting, and so you can incorporate them into those. So don't throw them away. Definitely, if you have scraps of batting, you can use them. The next way you can use batting scraps is like mug rugs, coasters, placemats, things like that. So recently I did a star coaster that's really cute. Mug rugs, maybe even a centerpiece, things like that where you need a piece of batting, but you definitely don't need a huge piece. Now, another way that you can use batting scraps is to use it to stuff small pillows or stuffies. If you like to make stuffed animals, whether those are crochet stuffed animals or sewn stuffed animals, little stuffies, you can kind of cut it up. I would recommend kind of cutting it up into smaller pieces and using that to stuff your items. So that's a great way of using it as well. The next way is dusting. So you can use your batting scraps to clean off your work tables, clean up your sewing machine, make sure it's dust free. The back behind my sewing machine always gets dusty, so I can use the batting for that. Also in sort of the same sort of cleaning realm, I know this is like now way more than 8, but you can use it to, I have like a couple of whiteboards that I use for when I'm thinking about ideas. I can use those to erase my whiteboards and kind of clean those up as well, so they're good for that too. And in sort of a similar vein, you can use batting scraps to store seasonal items, maybe your Christmas ornaments or your Easter. I have like a Easter cookie jar. If you are storing them away for later, they are great for wrapping up delicate items to be stored or shipped. So if you are shipping something to a friend that could be breakable, you can kind of stash those in your boxes and make sure that things don't break while they are being shipped. All right, so what do you guys think? A bunch of ways. I forget how many. I started with 8, but then I listed off lots of things. So those are different ways that you can use your batting scraps, that you can store things, clean things, use them to improve your quilting skills. You know, it's really hard. We don't want to be wasteful with our fabric or wasteful with our supplies because we paid good money for this stuff. So I hope that this was helpful for you guys. I will have everything listed out down below, links for where you could find everything that I mentioned. There'll be a blog post too where I have everything written out if you need some other ideas or some other quilting tutorials. Those will be there for you as well. Yeah, I guess that's it in today's video. Just a quick little chatty video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!